Because it's good people that will see a good road that has just been tarred, and they will never put a digger along because they want to send in a pipe of water. It's good people that will see a New Jersey median on a road, and they will not struggle to move it so that they can make a U-turn. Until we start to rebuild a nation of people who have respect for life. If you have respect for life, you will have respect for time. Because when you invite someone and you say it's 10 o'clock and you don't come at 10 o'clock, what you have said to him is that I have no regard for your life. I always wonder how we want things to go right when we do not understand the concept of value. That's my opening remark. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you for that opening remark and the little advice. I'll call secondly, this is Dr. Thomas. I hope our own short opening remark will be shorter.
Mrs. Dapo Thomas is the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Physical Planning and Urban Development. She's a distinguished administrator and bureaucrat. She's a graduate of the prestigious University of Ife, now Obafemi Awolowo University. At both bachelor and postgraduate levels. Civil service as an administrative officer in 1988. With over 30 years in the civil service, she has served in various capacities, delivering optimum service and technical proficiency to job responsibilities and challenging assignments. Currently, she is the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Physical Planning and Urban Development, where she has brought her wealth of experience to bear in reforms and initiatives towards a more effective and efficient service delivery. She is an alumnus of the Harvard Kennedy Executive Education Program and a Lagos State Public Service Career Designated, Career Mentor. Mrs. Dapo Thomas is an adherent of good work ethics and a thoroughbred establishment officer. She is married with children.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Oh, yeah, it's still morning. When I got the invitation and I saw the topic, which is building stronger cities, a review of the revised Lagos Master Plan, I said, what is this all about? Whether we like it or not, all protocols due to you, sir. He's my mentor too. I always go there to ask. An operative development plan is a living document. So we keep revising and we keep reviewing. That much I know. Building stronger cities would also mean building communities. Lagos State recently has created an office that we call LASRO, the Lagos State Resilience Office. And resilience means we are building against shocks, against the stresses, and it's one of the 100 resilient cities of the Rockefeller Foundations. And this is because we need to keep building, we need to keep changing, we need to keep, making things with the dynamism of human existence need to be taken on board in everything. So what do you mean by building stronger cities? We need to look at all facets of life. It isn't only about the master plan. The master plan actually is a cross-cutting issue with all of our ministries. The Ministry of Works, they must have an input, they always have an input. In fact, right now in the ministry has incorporated or inaugurated what we call the Master Plan Champions. And it is because we recognize that there would continue to be changes in governance and in life. And as Oga has rightly said, we must be thinking of all the other peoples. What do the members, or what do the disabled How can they live a well and meaningful life? How can they achieve their goals despite the fact that they have, these disabilities? We have to incorporate that in all our master plans. How do hospitals, how do we put hospitals in places where they are easily accessible? These are things that we keep reviewing in our Lagos master plans. So building stronger cities is much more than having a master plan. It's having a master plan that takes into cognizance the lives of people. So I think that is short enough. Is that short enough?
I would like, it's my pleasure to introduce Town Planner Ayodele Adediro. Thank you very much.
Town Planner Ayodele Adediro is a fellow of the Nigerian Institute of Town Planners. He started his career in Lagos State New Towns Development Authority in 1987 as Town Planning Officer, and later transferred service to the Lagos State Civil Service, where he rose through the ranks to the position of Permanent Secretary in 2015. During his stint in the public service, he acquired experience in different areas of urban and regional planning. A registered town planner, Town Planner Adediro obtained full professional diploma from the Polytechnic Ibadan, a BSc in Business Administration, an LLB and LLM from the prestigious University of Lagos. Town Planner Adediro was part of the team that prepared and reviewed some of the Lagos State government-approved schemes across the state. He also worked with others in the preparation of operative development plans. These include Ikoyi Victoria Island, Ikeja, Alimosho, Apapa Agege, Lagos Mainland Model City Plans, and Lekki Comprehensive and Badagry Master Plans. He served as a special assistant to the Honorable Commissioner for Physical Planning and Urban Development between 2006 and 2011. He served in many other committees, among which were the Professor Mabogunge Presidential Committee on Redevelopment of Lagos Megacity Region and General RICS Technical Committee on the Reform of Physical Planning and Building Control. He retired from public service in 2015. Town Planner Adediro is currently the Chief Executive Officer of Urban Planning Smart Solutions Limited, a firm of urban and regional planners. In private practice, he participated in the preparation of Ekwe Master Plan, Oshodi Solo Model City Plan in Lagos, and the World Bank sponsored Ibadan City Master Plan in Oyo State, in association with DAR Group. He is also an expert member of the technical assistant team on the French Development Agency sponsored urban renewals projects in Bariga and Ajeromi local government council areas of Lagos State. An astute urban planner, Town Planner Adediro has been on the council of the NITP since 2002, serving in different capacities, including the Office of National Secretary. He is currently the National Legal Advisor of NITP. He was also an exco member of the Association of Professional Bodies of Nigeria, Lagos State Chapter, and past chairman of NITP Lagos State Chapter. He is married with children.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Just like my guys here, we got the invitation and it was supposed to be interactive, so to discuss stronger, building stronger cities. And I was asking myself, how do I fit in? But on further inquiries, that you can't put something on nothing. That if the cities must be built, sorry for my crack. If the cities must be built, it has to be built on something. So, and I was told that we have to look at the area of master plans. But master plans in itself are not also very popular. Very popular in the sense that they look strict. In fact, the fact that you call it master is already restricting you, and we are coming back to it to make it like the PS said, is flexible because it is revisable. So the area I will look at is what Nigerians nowadays we don't want. I want to look at the historical background in this opening speech. Because if you don't know where we are coming from, we may not be able to project forward. Far back as 1928, bubonic plague in Lagos, plans became popular because we just have to do plans to make sure that we have something to develop, particularly Lagos Island, when there was crisis of bubonic plague, which became so fatal that was claiming lives, just like building collapse are claiming lives now. So we since then we've been having one planning law or the other, the ordinances taking care of sanitation and the environment, and then the schemes, the process of preparation of schemes under the urban and regional, under the town and country planning laws. I'm not going to just bother you with all those things, but to let you know that we used to have very strong institutional and legal framework, particularly with the areas of Lagos Executive Development Board, which in itself, there was an acquisition in Lagos Island to make sure that the central Lagos was developed, and the acquisition leading to reclamation of some parts that were swampy, which eventually had to be redeveloped. And in the course of doing that, they had to relocate some people to what became the new Lagos in Surulere. And then all those things were packaged with some form of, call it master plan, but we can call it schemes of development. And far back as 1962, the United Nations also recognized the fact that the rate at which Lagos was growing, and I presume that we are also relying on that, because whatever we are doing now, we are building, just like my peer said, we are building on what has been done. That plan was supposed to run between 1980 and 2000 for the expiring lifespan, but it's supposed to also be reviewed every 5 years, which we never did. And it has now become, let's say, due or expired. And one good thing is that Lagos State is always moving ahead in spite of challenges. And the fact is that that plan achieved most of the infrastructural development. And may I just tell you that some of the objectives of the plan was to disperse population into either to rural areas, what we call southwest, in Badagry Axis, Lekki, Ikorodu side, and it was the plan that provided the basis for opening up Lekki during the Jakande. And we could see that Jakande was really implementing the master plan religiously, opening up the Lekki Axis, making sure that Badagry has schemes and some other areas, and on the basis of that, in the last almost 20 years, Lagos State has also been faithful in making sure that the regime of preparing plans, physical development plans, or what we call operative development plans, are also in existence for all of us to follow in making sure that. And for this, we have to give credit to Lagos State. The first assignment was to review even the regional plan and evaluate it, whether it has really achieved much. And on the basis of the recommendation, there are a lot of plans that have been prepared, about 8 or 9 completed and 2 ongoing, or 2 or 3, and every part of Lagos is now almost covered with some documents that can form basis. And why are we saying this? Just like it has been said, it's not saying growing the sub-region, and then in South Africa, I mean, West Africa or Africa, I wouldn't know. But what are we really doing to keep it as a golden goose that is laying the egg in terms of value we are attaching to the properties there? These are things that are also cropping up, and Lagos State has also been referring to some of these documents to also enunciate some of the policy in the areas of infrastructure upgrade, urban renewal, and even looking at what can we do with the population, and also the what we now refer to interborder challenges in the megacity system. You can look at Ogun State and Lagos State, where is the boundary? All these are things that we are bringing up into what we want to look forward to, because what we should be discussing today is that what is the relevance of all this into the new urban agenda, and talking about sustainable development goals, because the plans itself will not stand in isolation. It has to be interconnected with other goals. I will pause here. Thank you very much.
Thank you for this interactive session. But before we begin, to our guests, in case they don't know, we're the global professional body promoting and enforcing the highest international standards in the valuation, management, and development of land, real estate, construction, and infrastructure. So basically, we're a global body that deals with the built environment, and not really part of Western Nigeria. I wanted to bring town planning in, and we're focusing on physical planning and all those issues. For our members and guests, this program is quite different from what you've experienced in the past, because it's going to be quite interactive and interrogative of the situation, of the topic that we're bringing on. But I will start the discussions and lead on with the panel here. So I will start reading from, I'll paraphrase it. There's a McKinsey article that talks about building better cities. And one of the statements there reads, in my view, there are three areas that we need to address to ensure prosperous urbanization. First is the issue of adequate rules and regulation. Second is having a carefully thought out urban design. And the third is putting into place a financial plan that ensures adequate funding. When you analyze how cities create value and how economies of agglomeration or urbanization are created, it is clear that you cannot succeed without addressing every one of these areas in parallel. In the first instance, it is evident that the cities that generate the most value are those with the strongest legal frameworks, that is, the ones that have clear, intelligent rules that are consistently enforced. A productive city is an outcome of the rule of law. Why? Because no one wants to invest in a place where their property could be seized or their rights abridged. Just as important is the physical plan or the design, an area that has been neglected since the Second World War. This lack of attention has resulted in a lot of cities, especially in the emerging world, that are congested, polluted, and just not very pleasant. And that undermines the urban economy. So I will stop there, because the point basically is we want cities that are not congested, polluted, and not very pleasant. I want cities that the law at least gives confidence to those who are investing in it. So in view of what is happening in Lagos, I would like the opinions on basically how does well, I won't use the word master plan. We've said that we should look beyond the master plan. How does the master plan ensure that these things will lead to an effective and a stronger city? How do we approach this with what Lagos State is putting on ground?
And like in most design-inclined professions, you start from the general to the specific. So that's why it's called master. It gives you a whole view. In fact, 2 documents were produced in 1980. Apart from the Lagos Metropolitan Area Master Plan, the Lagos State Regional Plan was produced. And the Metropolitan Master Plan is in fact a subset of the regional plan. And what does a regional plan do? What it does is to try to balance growth and development through the region. And it's like you are trying to balance this on that. And that's how a regional plan is. The moment it tilts, if development is towards this side, you see a shaking and then it will fall. So which is what happens when you develop Lagos Island more than Alagbado and things like that. Although the master plan is, you think of it only as a plan, but it's not just a physical plan thing. It also deals with economic issues, also deals with social issues, also deals with sociological issues. Now, that master plan of 1980 structured Lagos into 35 districts. And if all things had gone right, every district was supposed to be a growth center with their growth poles. And you would have had, for example, I'm giving an example, a ShopRite outlet. You would have had 35 ShopRite outlets. So if somebody was living in Alagbado and he wants to go to shop, why would he have to come to Ikeja? Or why would someone in Ikeja go to Lagos Island? Because whatever he's looking for is always within his neighborhood. So it first stops the crisscrossing around and reduces the traffic on the road, which is better for our city system. So, but it requires that when you have subdivided into districts, then those districts too will have their own plans. Those districts will also be subdivided into sectors. We must bring our plans to the level of neighborhood that Dr. Baton Ajayi will be able to identify his house on that land use plan for his neighborhood. And he knows that the next plot is a clinic. The next one is a recreation center. So somebody can't come and build an industry because this is a master plan. Now you first mentioned law and order. The plan itself is a law. In a good place, when a master plan is completed, you take it to the house. It is passed into law. It is gazetted. And to alter it is not cast in stone, because we also have this thought that once it is master, cannot be changed. There's nothing that cannot be changed, because the city is a living organism subject to an origin, a growth, a decline, or death. If we don't take the right decisions, they will die. And that's why you will find that some uses will change over time. I was in Manchester and I saw a church building, and I was being told that it's no longer a church, that right now it's residential. So that's what this is about. A master plan, a good master plan, takes into cognizance law and order. Because if you don't have law and order, you can't really implement your master plan. Probably that's why we have some breakdown in some places. For example, if Jakonde had continued in government, maybe we would have had our district plans. Maybe we would have had our metro line. You know, he was planning the metro line. Maybe it was then that our Fourth Mainland Bridge would have been done, because the Fourth Mainland Bridge was part of the 1980 regional plan. It's not an innovation. It was part of the 1980 regional plan, but because we have this tendency of not following up with our plans, that's why we're here.
Some of the statements that have been made in terms of the district, sub-district plans, evolving to the district level, making sure the master plan remains master, that nobody deviates from at least what the intention is. So, is this something that can be sustained? Because what we see now, what we see of our city, Lagos, it seems confusing. When we expect the residential to be here, then we see something else. And then even more bizarre is what can come to that. How does this all come together? And how does it even come together with the social issues, the schools, the health centers? I mean, do all the parts of this government work together to make sure they deliver the promise?
Said is that we have master plans, we have model city plans, we have operative development guides. Even for your estates, you have approval orders, you have all of layout plans and all of that. It's devolving. I mean, for it to devolve, we'll start even, I mean, since most of us could be estate developers here, we come to the ministry and you ask for layout plans. And of course, layout plans will tell you the land uses. The first thing the Honorable Commissioner, sorry, I will keep reverting to Honorable Commissioner, had said is respect for the rule of law. We will have all of these documents and we will have all of these confusions when we do not respect the rule of law, when there is a lot of impunity out there, when there are people who do not care to circumvent. The enforcement should be the last resort. We shouldn't even be talking of enforcement. It is actually something that we would go to when one or two people, you know, kind of break the law. But what we find out here now is that enforcement is all we are doing. Building control is always going, not even doing state certifications. They are going out there more and more to do enforcement. It is now the rule of the day because people do not respect the laws. The laws are there. The amount that governments, and I will tell you, it isn't about even physical planning. It's in all ramifications, all spheres. The amount that governments spend on enforcement alone is mind-boggling. There is a traffic light here. It says red, you stop. People don't stop here. There is a one-way route here. It says go this way. We decide we want to go this way, and there is absolutely nobody who could say, no, you can't do that. And by the time you are caught, it's a different ball game. When you are caught, it's a different ball game. Now the race starts. Who do you know? And they will keep calling you. You're supposed to do according to that. Where we propose to be, we are going to have coastal roads. We are going to have regional roads. We are going to have all of this. But because the resources are not there once and for all, it's a futuristic plan. It's a long-term plan. It's a medium-term plan. It could have short-term plans. But because the resources are not there, we can't do that all of the time. So there are lands that are banked here, there, and everywhere. And of course, the Surveyor General's office is telling you that this land is under acquisition. Before you go to bed, you come back, you find encroachments here, there, and everywhere. And of course, we are out there again trying to enforce, and we become exhausted. Government becomes exhausted because it takes a lot of funds. It takes out of the revenue meant to do other things to start running around to ensure the sustainability of that master plan. So it takes money again to ensure that the laws are being implemented, are being adhered to. This is a different ball game here. Yes, we can say UK, we can say US, you can say wherever, but voluntary compliance is what we require here. Every other thing, Nigerians are brilliant people. We are awesome. We know how to put together all of these things. But really and truly, government would only as much as try to ensure that people adhere to those things in the master plan. The master plan will tell you as far as we can go for our socio-economic life, and I've just told you one. For the people living with disabilities, it has taken that on board. Investment opportunities, it has taken that on board. But how do we go from here without, and this is a document that we plan with the people. It isn't that the ministry is sitting, government is sitting down there and say, we have drawn a master plan. We come out, there is a procedure to it, there is a public presentation, there is a public inspection of it before it becomes something that we need to now start implementing. But once we have agreed, government will, their expectations, yes, their expectations on the part of the citizens as well, just as we would have expectations on the part of government. Yes, government would implement, but the people are expected also to comply. We need voluntary compliance to ensure that that confusion that we are talking about, that confusion is not something that comes from government, it is also us who are also government, because you are paying us to run this for you. So it is also about us to do the right thing, and then we'll get where to El Dorado, just as you want or we desire. Thank you. We realize that there is a need for us to collaborate, to join hands together. There should be more synergy in this thing that we call sustainable environment. So it isn't that we are without friends, but really there's some friends and there are enemies as well. There are people who really do not care. You can't say everyone will be your friend. Yes, we have friends, lots of them, but of course there are enemies of progress in every society. And I guess you would say the same thing as well. Thank you.
Then the planning possibly can cope with, which is why some people are building here, building there, building where they can build it. What do you think is the solution with what you know, your own professional knowledge on planning, philosophy, and the objectivity of urbanization?
Thank you for chipping some things. When we look at planning and planners, we shouldn't see it as those people who went to study urban and regional planning and then they came back to work with other ministry or consultants. There is this perception that it is only those few people. Actually, the whole of Nigerian Institute of Town Planners, dead and alive, we are about 5,000. And if you bring those dead and alive members, I'm using their number because I don't know how many people have died, to Lagos, they can't even do much. So we are all into it. That is what I want to first of all emphasize. And then there is this federal government economic recovery something plan. Everything, see, whatever is happening there, sharing of money or whatever, everything comes on the ground. So the issue is that we need to have the enabling environment. You mentioned the first one, which should be the regulations and the law. And the speakers before me, they have emphasized that even where we have law in this country, people don't obey. And that's, people are scared. When the PS was emphasizing enforcement, how many of us will agree that police is our friend? And even though we don't like the police for one reason or the other, but the investors are contributing money into the security trust fund to make sure that police perform their duties. And because you cannot do anything in an environment of insecurity, the same thing also happens. Nobody wants to really be a friend of town planner. Let me just mention that because they see us encroaching on their right to property. May I also say that I don't want to charge all of you here, but many of you can also be alleged to be also part of the problem. If you have a building that is meant for, say, office, and the owner wants it to be let out, you will single-handedly, with due respect, I don't really mean that everybody does that, say, okay, we have a property that is used, is good for this, is good for that. I don't also want to be specific. At the end of the day, some of these properties, even it may also be just a landed property to be developed, you already determine the use. The person already bought. And they will not to now be confronted with the fact that there is a plan in that area which says this is what you can use the place for. So these are challenges that I want us to also bring here. Another comment I will make before I go to the area that you asked me to talk about is that a month ago, until a month ago, our politicians were going about telling everybody what they want to do for their constituents. Many of them, they want to build road, they want to build this, they want to do that. In the recess, if they win and they want to still do what they wanted to do, they are the real town planner. Because they are the ones determining what they want to give to their constituents. If from my own constituent they said they are going to build schools, they have not determined even the population of that community, what kind of school. Town planners are supposed to be carried along, even in the manifestos. Otherwise, when they come there, we become saboteurs. These are few of the challenges. Now, if you say way forward, the way forward is what all of us have to look at. And then we look at it, one, because of the nature of planning, it's a little bit restrictive. Saying you can't do this, you can't go to this site, you can't. So at the end of the day, for us to perform effectively, we need the support of law. And that is where everybody comes in. You don't expect me or lawyers or town planners to sit down in one corner or with DPS and prepare law. All of us will have to come together to really get it done. And when we get it done, we also make sure that it passes through the necessary institution. I'm not trying to defend government, but you know we don't have some regulations now. But I know that in the last 4 years or so, we have the regulations in the House of Assembly, and it's not the ministry that will sign it off. It's not the town planner. The representatives of the people in the assembly should be as eager to get these laws done without being political about some of the things. But again, we face that the politicians want to feel that whatever they say is even the law. So if you want to build a 4-story, maybe 6-story building, and I say we only have permit 4, then the party leader will send a note. And so you know what will happen at the end of the day. And then this is the areas you have to look at. And I'm not also saying that for the technical people, there are lots to do. I used to say that some of us are very, very lazy. And if people will come and be quoting for you that in Singapore, this is what is happening in Dubai. But just like the commissioner opened this address by saying our value system, our attitude, our culture, and so on. Because if you take even the issue of land tenure, which is your own area of specialization, you discover that the ease of doing business is very, very particular. How long will it take you as an investor to register a title? And even when you have registered it, what next and so on? The past governor used to say that a very large percentage of what's supposed to be assets in quote, in Nigeria, they are dead. And they are dead. You have even plots in Lekki Scheme 1. You don't perfect your title there. They don't make it transferable and so on. So these are issues. If we can overcome them, I think we will get somewhere. It's not just about the plan. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now, I would want to open it up for a few questions before we bring it back to my side. So please signify if you have some interventions to make, questions to ask.
The revised master plan.
Yes.
So, can we be talking about things that require review? Maybe it will lead you, but if you think you are getting what you want to get, you can go ahead.
Yes. Okay, it's about building stronger cities. There are certain functions and factors that create this together. And the Lagos Master Plan, which is your purview, the three of you, understanding what it is. So we're interrogating the fact that what is this Master Plan's objective? Vis-a-vis what we believe are the factors that make a stronger city, better city, and eventually a happy city. That's basically it. So our belief is that you're speaking to the fact that this is what the Lagos Master Plan offers. Our side is to interrogate it whether it answers the question of a stronger, better city. That is the objective.
It is the workable master plan that will give you the stronger cities. So let's just leave the stronger cities, because that's a goal. It's like wanting to become a medical doctor. If a child tells you at age 6 that he wants to become a medical doctor, by the time he gets to secondary school and it's time to choose his subjects, and he chooses Islamic religious studies, literature, geography, RICS, you are going to pull him back and say you are not going to become one. Because that's not going to lead him to becoming a medical doctor. So the building stronger cities is the goal. So we will now look at what to review in the master plan.
Yes. So the building stronger, like you said, is the goal.
Is the goal.
What we have now with the master plan is the offer, and then we build it to we take those plans.
What we need to impute, tweak,
precisely,
amend,
precisely,
rejig,
precisely,
to make our cities stronger.
Exactly.
Good.
That's it. So with you as the informal commission, you have a good understanding of what this is. So we all have that discussion. You will inside.
You know what I'm trying to avoid?
Yes.
Is a draft and not a brief. So that's the way town planners do are. It's like taking a decision. Not taking a decision is also a decision. You understand, sir? So let's not put it as if she's going to give us all of our answers. Because we are all stakeholders, will come up with something before we end.
Definitely. So I like that point you made, whether the audience. Again, I'm opening up the questions. Hand, if I can see the hands. One. So what I will do is that we'll start from this table.
Chairman, our special guests and discussants, the two professions, the estate surveying and town planning, even let me extend it to QS. In RICS, they are under the same umbrella. So when we are now bringing this topic, we are bringing it as part of our own topic. And it's a very important one to all of us that are in Lagos. In Lagos, we are talking of physical planning. You have mentioned law. Even we have mentioned the people. There is this problem which I see is bothering, I'm sure many of us, is bothering our mind. the type of population influx to Lagos is almost defeating all the programs that are being put together. When you even say this place is a mark for this thing, don't develop there. Before they break, you see some people, they are sleeping on the place. They just arrive overnight. Within a month, the whole place has become a shanty, even when it is in the other neighborhood. How do we solve that type of problem in Lagos? How do we go about it? At least there should be a recommendation we can make to the government to look at that area. Then there are other areas which, looking at those modern cities, I still believe that probably there is need for publicity, because many people don't understand when we say there is modern city, there is this, there is that. Some of the developers, probably, or private developers, probably they could have been able to get to these districts to start development, knowing fully well that there is a master plan that is available for those areas. Because there's hardly a part of Lagos where there are good development that people will not go and patronize. When this ShopRite started and we were going to places, you discover that you get to anywhere you have ShopRite and it is fully patronized. Then the last question I want to raise is, in the area of redevelopment, especially Lagos Island, is it possible to suggest to government this individual approach? There was a time government took about 5 or 10 properties and they now had a concession with the family to develop it to 10 stories, give them some so that they can give the other part to be their developers program. Is it possible for this city that is now decaying, take a big portion of it and have a program for development? Can the government of Lagos or national attract developers like they did in Dubai and all the places? And the people are not, they didn't regret it. And in Lagos, we have population that will constitute effective demand for any type of development that we have in those areas. Thank you.
It's very simple. Why do we still have some suburb areas have been neglected because due to lack of layout, in spite of the master planning that we have in Lagos State? If you go to Ajah area, you have a lot of suburb areas, and they have turned to ghetto in recent times. Whenever we have a strong winds of water, rainfalls, the whole place becomes a dead end and becomes impassable. And we talk about a workable master plan to give birth to a stronger city. Yet, we still have these challenges. The second question is lack of consequence on the part of developers.
We had a very important session with the Minister for Works and Housing. And he spoke on a very important aspect, which is public order. And Mr. Ainde spoke on values. Now, what we have there is that common sense is not really common, what we are seeing in Lagos. What should be a stopgap measure? A stopgap measure. What, in your opinion, should be the way out concerning the collapsed buildings? That's what we have now in Lagos Island. Is it, should we look at it as a complete failure of planning? What is the way out?
For example, you talk about the kiosks on the road. How do we get the policymakers themselves to even obey the law themselves. On the roads, they are in charge. They even break the traffic light themselves because nobody can arrest them. In London, just one single young lady, a policeman will stand on a roundabout and everybody will queue up. How do we get the leaders to lead by example? Of environmental impact assessment. I remember when one of the stadiums in London was to be built, there was an interaction with the people around. Even ordinary resident report until it is resolved, no project takes off. In Nigeria, all we need, even in Lagos in particular, is just get the report. Get somebody who can put up the environmental impact assessment report, submit it, and that's all you need to get all things moving. And to summarize the number 3, what is the Institute of Town Planners doing in the area of advocacy?
Remember when the Ikorodu Road was constructed? I mean, from Jibo to Maito. 76, right? 76, 77. What was the population of Lagos then? Because I recollect that the master plan of 1980 was putting us at about 4 million. So in 76 we wouldn't have been 4 million. But that was a 10-lane road constructed when we were less than 4 million. 1976 to now is how many years? 43 years. Would you imagine that a baby born in 1976 will be putting on the same underpants at age 43 now?
He has a grandchild now.
So, truth about the human settlement called Lagos is that it undergoes some dynamics that we have to respond to almost on a per second basis. We do not have that machinery. Lagos, as at now, on its own, cannot fund matching development of Lagos with planning right now. And that is why over the years you will find that some representatives of Lagos State have always argued for a special status for Lagos. And let's leave Lagos alone. I know you are concerned about Lagos, and I know some of us are not from Lagos, we are from hinterlands. It's the same thing happening. Most states, by the revenue allocation formula, will be unable forever to service their urban areas. Unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, the world is going urban. Over 60% of people are in urban areas. But truth is that, where is that funding? So we have to match implementation with planning. So no matter how much plan you have made, if it remains on the shelf, the man who did not plan is even better than you, because he didn't even bother to waste his money at all. So one of the problems we have is that Lagos does not have the matching fund to be able to cope with the population. This state, by 2050, is going to double the population. And in my own private office, I gave my staff a research assignment. By the time Lagos becomes 40 million, where are we going to accommodate the people? I hope we are getting the picture. Which is is why when we say master plan, a master plan is just a framework, it's a structure which we can bend, we can amend, we can review. We don't do that review regularly. I'm sure you probably review your wardrobe yearly or biennially, but we don't review at all, and we expect this city to take it. It will be difficult, sir. So,
before the man will do as somebody spoke of awareness. I think that was past president first spoke about it, and then he also spoke on advocacy. I think we'll take both together. In Nigeria, it's expensive to get news across. It's very expensive. So you have to go through, except some of the press that have become our friends. You don't see a pressman wanting to ask information about this city. What are you people thinking about this city? That they should be calling you regularly to ask you questions. They probably want you to ask them to come, I'll give you so much, because, and I won't blame the man too, because he might not even have the transport money to come to my office. So, but we need the cooperation of government. We need the cooperation of stakeholders to be able to fund awareness. We do the little we can. When occasionally the PS is called on the television, oh, she will say something about it. When occasionally I'm invited to a program, I will say something about it. And it helps. You know, 4 years, I've left office 4 years, but I still get telephone calls, I still get texts. Please send your boys to come to our site. We are seeing something that is being built. That is the awareness of 4 years ago. That's how strong it is. So we need this campaign that people should sympathize with us and help us carry this news. I think, maybe I should just take item 3. There are 11 questions. I don't know what you wrote, but there are 11 issues here. Okay, I will just take urban regeneration. Again, the steps to take. Okay, it was Dr. Patmola again. The case you referred to is the Sanegongo, where 11 families came together and put up a 13-floor structure. Before I left government, it was 85% completed. It was finished. I don't know where it is now. Now, there are some management issues. I don't know if they have been solved. For example, the lot that somebody gave did not even have the value of one of the units. That's how low it is. But you know what it will mean for you to tell somebody who gave you maybe 10 square meters, because that's what he built. To now tell him that you can't have a space in this new house, it will be a big problem. And because that had not been resolved, it became difficult to do phase 2, where we had 13 families that want to collaborate again. In fact, 2 families were already pulling out. But I think the answer to that is continuous negotiation. There are too many people able to answer that. But let me tell you my attitude to the obedience to law. Or when I ask myself, how will Nigeria get better? I will say that it starts with me. The first thing I did as commissioner was, when the forms for number of police escorts that you want, when it was given to us, it was the first form as soon as we were sworn in. That was what was given to us. I did not return the form. I did not have any escort for 1 day, because it will help me to live as a normal citizen. And so if I'm a normal citizen, let me go and break the law now. They will catch me. So that itself puts me in a position to obey the law, because there is no policeman to scare a law officer from arresting me. So, and you also recall, and I think it still holds, our governors in Lagos, they don't use siren. Yes. And they don't drive people out of the road. That's still part of trying to be law abiding. But the thing is cultural. Apprehend a commissioner and say, you broke the light, you must pay. But I think it is happening. It is going to come now, because a few weeks ago, I got a text that my car committed an offense, and I discovered that it was a vehicle license that expired. You know, some of us, God save us, that we have more than one car. You'll be using, it will be at home, you won't know that the vehicle, you know. So when we get to a situation that there is no human being for you to see, to beg, we will be treading on the right path. You know, how many of us are Yorubas here? You know, they have this horrible statement in Yoruba. After they have offended, they will say, Ojulo Ojusha. When my face sees your face, I will pity you. So we need to get to a system that I don't need to see you. I pay my PHCN bills without seeing PHCN. I do it. I get my money without seeing my account officer. So when we get a system that does that for us, I think it will be better. Thank you.
The establishment, as I earlier said, of the Lagos State Resilience Office. And of course, this is to take care of the stresses and the shocks of this phenomenon called population influx. There is no way we are going to do it, I mean, as we are supposed to do it. As you think one is to do it. I recall there was a certain administration that decided to ship people back home, and we know what that cost that during that period. Because I mean, one would have thought that people should go back to where, yeah, I think it is. People, I mean, they probably have thought that they should go back to their states and all of that, but it didn't go down well. So for as long as we cannot do that, and for as long as the land mass of Lagos State cannot grow, we would continue to do what we can within the resources that we have. Yes, people have been ingenious. What do I mean by being ingenious? We have seen people going to reclaim even the waters to be able to bring about development, further development house, and they will now say they're doing reclamation. But all this reclamation also would have their consequences, which the Ministry of Waterfront and Infrastructure Development is looking at. We can't reclaim the entire lagoon. It would bring about certain disasters when they come. I mean, it's just waiting to happen. So the Office of Resilience, it's a new office, and I think they are, in fact, they have a week, next week, April 2 to April 5, they're celebrating their week, and of course they're looking at the various inputs, the various indices of human existence to be able to put on the ground and I think they had a stakeholders forum to be able to bring about all of this, put all of this together, and then talk to government, and then we'll move from there to be able to deal with this influx. Yes, we talked about, Doctor talked about sensitization on the master plans. Well, sensitization in view of the fact that we have master plans developed, prepared, and they are there for sale, or sensitization that when you go to our various district offices, by the way, we have district offices in all the 57 LCDs for the Fiscal Planning Permit Authority and for the Building Control Authority. So you don't need to come to Alausa. We have them in all 57 districts. So you can go to any of our offices and then you can ask your questions concerning development. But one thing we also do is to offer planning information. You need to commit to buying a land. In fact, you need to lease. Now, I will take it as far as leasing. If you need to commit, before you commit, ask for planning information so that you are not buying a parcel of land and then you can't develop what you want to develop by, because this is what actually causes a lot of problems for us. A lot of people have bought their parcels of land and then they say, I want to do a petrol filling station where you are not supposed to. And of course, when you are saying you can't, they keep running around, building by night, building by day, building during weekends, because they want to have what you cannot have. So really, for us, we have issues of, that comes under the issue of voluntary compliance, because they have committed, they have put the cart before the horse, they have not done what is right by law, they have not done what is right by the planning information, by seeking planning information. They cannot go back on their commitments, and then we have all of these issues. We talked also about redevelopment. I know that one of our agencies, that is LASURA, the Lagos State Urban Renewal Agency, is even looking at redeveloping the Adeniji-Adele area. I think they're at a process, they're at a level now where they're having to talk with one of the private developers to talk about regenerating that axis, because all of those buildings are here are, in need or in dire need of redevelopment. So one of those agencies, there is an agency of government that is looking into it. But as it was rightly said earlier, funding is really critical here. Funding, and it's not something that government alone can do. We also will need the partnership of the private sector. I hear, okay, Mr. Adele.
Consequences for contravention.
Yes, you said there is a lack of penalty on conversion of use. No. You see, if we go out there, we have also looked at this, and I know that His Excellency last year signed an executive order, and it was also in the papers, to do with conversion of use. It is also, these are things that will also do with voluntary compliance. I have seen a number of people, when they are signing their agreements with their lessor or their lessees and everything, they do not put in that agreement that you cannot change the use upon which I obtained these permits. So you will see someone, you have leased your property to that person, it has a residential permit, and that you lease that property, and then that person decides he wants to do a commercial business there, and he's breaking down walls and all of that. By the way, this is also the sign of our times. Nigeria is fast becoming a trading economy. Everybody is buying and selling. And of course, when they do not have money for shop, they start breaking one floor, two floor. The guard's house becomes a small shop for their son, their daughters, because they can't have a house. All of these things are the dynamism of human existence. These are things that are coming on board, and these are things we are also looking at. Every one of us as members of the built environment. Yes, the laws are there, the laws are being enforced, building control is out there doing what they need to do, but like I said, it's much more enforcement than state certification. But I also see a trend when people want to build, and on their project boards, we have the names of the professionals that are supposed to be. I have learned that even some professionals ask them to use their names for a fee, and they are not part of that development. They are not part of that project. Where are we going? Is this about government too? I've had to force a developer last week to go and get a big developer, a big-time developer, to go and get his account stamp on the drawings, and he says no, he will get back to me. Let me just give him approval. And I said no, it is a requirement. You really have to do it before we give you, because he needs that approval to, you know, to give to his investors and all of that. But why are we shying away from doing the needful? I think we need also to speak to our members. Members of the built environment, those of us that do these things for a fee. In fact, I'm sure in building control, we have a name or names of certain people that once they bring it to us, we see it, we say no, because we know that this is for a fee. It wasn't something that went through the right process. So when we start from having our built environment professionals, when we start having to do the needful, then we'll be able to tackle the quacks. Yes, dealing with the quacks is another kettle of fish, it's another ball game. They are the ones, I'm sure nobody in their right senses would be would be the ones building by night. They are not the ones doing all of those things. But government also goes there to those developments. Some of those developments are undergoing a process of forfeiture. But people want us to sensationalize all of these things. The ministry will do the needful, but you should know that an arm of government is also going to deal with that issue, because it becomes an issue of courts. Some of them are still in the courts, and then they are, you know, until the court pronounces, we cannot come out and say this is done. But we have done our bit by telling you that don't do this, don't do that. I think only last week we got one forfeiture out of, and I think we have 3 or 4. We got one approved. So now that is approved, and of course we are commencing the process of forfeiture on this 63 Mercy Street. And by the way, if you know the owner and developer, this is a public service announcement. If you know the owner and developer, please ask them to see us in the ministry. We are yet to get the owner and development to actually start asking, interviewing on what went down at that on that development. Developments, you must have your EIA report, and you must have them cleared by the relevant agency. For certain developments, well, you said that they have not spoken to the neighbors. I believe that if a development is coming up and the neighbors actually see a need for them to be carried along, as a whistleblower or as somebody who has an interest in that development, you could write to the relevant agencies. I've seen a lot of people write to LASEPA concerning pollution. I've seen a lot of people write to the Ministry of the Environment concerning a certain development requiring a helipad. So if a development is about to come up and you see a project board and you believe that this is necessary, you can write to that development. And I've seen residents associations come together coming against certain developments that they have gotten wind of coming up in that development. I don't know if I'm answering your question.
No, let me, ideally, in a good place. The EIA is supposed to go to stakeholders. They will come as, they won't wait till that project starts. Normally when they receive it, let me tell you what is done in Ogun State, for example. What is done in Ogun State is that it's your EIA that you present first. Until it is clear, you can't bring your drawings. But in Lagos, you bring everything together. In fact, it is possible that your drawings are cleared, then they are awaiting the clearance of your EIA. I think it's just looking inwards again and see how we can make it an inclusive process so that people have something to say about what is going on around them. But it also has to do with the person making that proposal. you have to come clean to government that you are making so large a project, because we've also found out that people have some projects that they go and doctor their survey plans. Recently, somebody wanted a facility in the bank. I think banks now go and check your survey, they go and check your CFO now, whether it's genuine. He actually got a facility years ago. He only wanted to roll it back, and then they sent it back. And he said, sorry, there's a problem. So he sent it to me. So I went to the Surveyor General. I said, no, this survey plan doesn't say that this land is here. But you know, they had used it fictitiously to get a CFO years ago. But because Lagos State had advanced in GIS enterprise and things like that, you can't do that and get away with it anymore. So that's why promoters or proponents of projects too have to come clean. Some people want a big project, they'll bring it as if it were small, that it would not even need an EIA. So, and that's why I keep saying that it's about the people. We must be honest people. So the commissioner won't know the size of the project until you bring it, and then we can start this due process. I hope you understand.
And it can be relied also. We have a dependency on other agencies, and that's where we get the EIA clearance from. That's all I think I have on my plate.
Before I'll give you a moment. What are yourself?
Thank you, invited guests. Honorable Commissioner, my name is Joe. I want to speak to the issue of transportation in Lagos, because it's becoming very naughty now. It took me about 3 hours to get here from the island. You know, so
which part of the island?
From what's it called, Pinnock Beach Estate, around the Japan area. 3 hours.
That one is Lekki Peninsula.
Oh, well, it's the island. Everybody's on the road, you know what I mean? And it's becoming a big problem. You spend half of your day on the road and you don't achieve anything. You know, so I think, I know that, what's it called, Lagos really deserves special status, because everybody in this country has somebody in Lagos. You know, so in the past, when the state was in the opposition, they would say it's difficult. But now, they're in the mainstream. So I'm sure the federal government will probably listen to them now. We need experiences for Lagos. We have to have good alternatives of transportation, rail system within the city, you know what I mean? Because if I have good rail system, I don't have to carry my car up and down the whole place. I jump in the train. You know, people live in zone 6 in London and work in central London. You don't need to use your car. We need to look at that seriously. Thank you very much.
Quite a lot has been responded to what I wanted to say. But I have a challenge in this discourse, and that's the fact that the issue of land was not brought to the fore. If all activities takes place on land, what's the position of land in planning? You will recall that by virtue of Section 1 of the Land Act, the state governor has the power to administer land. Then why are we having tale of two cities? We have well-planned cities and we have squatter settlements. And the way things are going, the squatter settlements are growing higher and faster than the developed ones. So for us to build a stronger city, there has to be a correlation between land ministries and the physical planning. There are times that they plan, and by the time they get to site, the whole place has been built up. So the whole excess of the plan is defeated. So how do we bring forth a strong relationship between the planners and the land officers in the ministry? That's what I want to ask. Thank you so much.
Okay,
different districts. How are we going to fit in? So that's and the third one, which has been said, funding. So it's actually very important. So in this review thing we're talking about, our plan, our master plan, needs to start saying, how do we make sure all of these things come into place? How do we bring this thing? The EIA, I will bring 2 points, which we will then respond to. The first problem, Apapa, there is a tank farm, I think that's there, on Creek Road. And I'm not sure it had an EIA before the change of use conversion was allowed. Sometimes, I think this may have affected all the tanks the tankers coming there. I'm not sure, but it's something I'm not saying as a fact. It's a question I'm asking. So these things coming together with a plan of how we're going to live in. As a valuer or someone, I look at Papa. How has it affected this location, and how has it, in the long run, people living in that sector? So, in summarizing and responding, that's what I want to say. Thank you.
We should also link it with the kind of governance we have. As I'm speaking to you here now, a colleague of mine just presented our position about the act in the National Assembly. I just glanced through my WhatsApp group, reviewing the EIA at federal level. So when you are talking of EIA, we also have to define the role of the ministerial and the state government and the level of EIA that we are talking about. Because when you are mentioning the tank farm now, that has gotten to a magnitude that it is the Federal Ministry of Environment that will supervise such. But the review is on, but the state itself is a big stakeholder. Because even if you go and write EIA for somebody, it must fall within the state's plan. So we need the kind of federalism we are practicing itself has to also be seen as part of the challenge we are having, even in planning. So I know for sure that Lagos State will require all your necessary impacts statements, but even the federal can go ahead and see also. So we need to resolve some of them, and that will lead me, before I proceed, until all of us, particularly in the built environment, we start the mantra of enough is enough. We will all be shouting of the regulators not doing their work, but who are the regulators? They are our colleagues also inside. If you are saying it's the public, and some of us are also the people consultants out there getting the job to also do what we are not supposed to do. So we all need to come together to identify some of these areas and start working with government. It's not enough to say government has not done this. Some of the estates are being managed by professionals, and if we look at it from that, we will discover, going to the point being made about either opening of the roads or not, along the express. I know that part of what led to the preparation of Lekki Comprehensive Master Plan, it initially was supposed to be a Lekki infrastructure plan. And the problem was when there was flash flood in the whole place, and there was a situation probably in the 2006 or 2007, the whole place was flooded and nobody was able to even go out. And then we look at it that all the estates along that route, they closed up. So rather than having alternative routes that you may not even have anything to do with the express. Everybody just got their parcels of land, 5 hectares, 10 hectares, and they close up. Only even their own, if Boko Haram comes and close the gates, they cannot even go out anywhere. They only provide one access to most of these, and many of us are also managers of such estates. It's a crazy thing to do. And planners are also the ones that plan some of them. So, but government didn't give them approval not to have alternative routes. And government didn't say they cannot also have common facilities. Let me give an example. If we have 5, 10 hectares of land. At primary level, they're supposed to come together because at the stage they need a secondary school rather than just one elementary school for their residents. But we just discovered that this silos way of also developing estate is not also making the city to be strong. Rather, it is weakening. In fact, some of them are now complaining because some of the residents of Lekki, they have to carry their children. Some of them still have to bring the children to this British, American school or Nigerian British. In SB1, and they suffer even more than the people living in Agege, whose children will trek to their schools. So we collectively have to look at this. It's a challenge, not we have to blame it or that. Some of them will say they have invested so much, and that will lead me to central facilities too. What stops Crown Estates and some other estates coming together and say, look, we can generate the power to some extent that all of us will use, and we have the economy of scale. The same thing with central sewage system. But even when government is requiring that they should submit their sewage plans and all sorts of things, even those with 2 hectares want to do their own central sewage system. And we know that it is not also profitable, it's not investment friendly for them. And these are things that is not just, I know that government is supposed to come with some regulations, but they also know the genesis of how these investors came to get land. Some of them didn't even have the experience of being called property developers, but they got themselves and become
in real estate.
okay, so they now even form an association super than those who are trained to be real estate managers. So these are issues again that we have to factor in if you want to make the cities stronger. Yes, we are having new areas, very expensive. They want to sell 3-bedroom flat at 60-something million, but how sustainable, how livable are some of these areas? And what is the linkage? Yes, everybody is now talking that ShopRite is being taken to. Is this only ShopRite that we need for also servicing some of these areas? I will go also to say that when we talk of enforcement, actually, and this will not prejudice whatever outcome, because I'm on the panel of the PS, I'm working for the PS in this area. But my position is what you have said. I know that we're supposed to have accredited certifiers. That's what I said the other time. Then they say, police is my friend. I accept that the police is my friend. No, this town planner cannot be, because you already have a preconceived. Many people don't even know. Thank God you know that we have, we do master plans. We prepare master plans. Many people don't know that town planners have any other work than to mark people's house. That's our work. That's what they think we do. And that is also element of not having trust. That is also element of the level of governance. Because we can't do all this thing without really having the leadership. We all know, I had a very rare opportunity, and I was sponsored by Lagos State government, I have to confess, to go to Singapore. And when we were even asking that, how do you enforce? Do you demolish it? They said, they cannot be, they don't really understand, they didn't understand what I was saying.
Thank you very much. So, we're rounding up now, so I don't know if Commissioner and PS have 2 minutes, then we close.
Well, it's any of those things, because actually I thought we would just take some of those questions. That was why I took about 4 of them. But let me say that we're looking forward to a sustainable city. It's going to take the contribution of of every one of us. Somebody was discussing building control with me, and I said, is it building control that we really need, or people control? There is an author that said, until a man is able to discipline himself, you cannot trust him to discipline somebody else. So we send out people who don't have self-discipline to go and supervise a building. They will collect money and do sharp practice. It's as simple as that. So we really need to examine ourselves. We cannot eat our cake and have it. We cannot break principles and expect things to work. I think we want to be magicians. It's only a magician that breaks principles and gets good results. We want good roads, must do a good design. There must be a good contractor. He must give a guarantee that that road will last so many years. And it's the same thing. If we have a development plan, there must be a government that is committed to funding it and to doing it right. We want housing. Our government is still doing exactly opposite what their housing policy says. The government set up a committee to establish a housing policy, and that policy says government should provide enabling environment. But it's our government that is still constructing. So how many buildings will federal government construct? How many will state construct? Why don't you provide the enabling environment, provide a stable economy that the investor can put in for loans at 4%, 5%? We will get houses. And we must start living as a community. We should not live as individuals, where our individual houses are beautiful palaces, and then we drive out to a common road that is full of potholes. And instead of us cooperating to get the road repaired, we will all go and buy jeeps individually that will be using to enter the rough road. That means we are comfortable living individually. We must rise above self and begin to think about how to live as a community. Well, that was one of the things that Singapore sorted out. They discovered that there were about 4 nationalities: Chinese, Indonesians, Malays, and I've forgotten the 4th. But the first thing they did was to sit down and ask themselves, how do we live together? And they decided that, hey, we have different religions, so this nation is going to be secular. So that's why they will begin their programs without an opening prayer, and there will be no closing prayer. And they are doing better than us. We will do opening prayer, and then we will do closing prayer. And then we graduated. When we start a program, a Christian prays, then at the end of the was it a Christian that prayed or Muslim at the beginning? Okay, let a Muslim pray for us now. And then state governments have even gone worse. They will have some programs. I will say, the reverend will come and give us the Christian opening prayer. And then the imam will give us the Muslim opening prayer. And then at the end of the day, the program, there will be a Christian closing prayer and a Muslim closing prayer. And you know what? We still produce the worst results. So why don't we just forget all of these things and think of how to better our lot as individuals? I said to somebody, sorry, I'm a Christian. When Jesus said, love your neighbor as yourself, it was on the presumption that you will have a value for yourself. Because until you have a value for yourself, you won't have a value for the other person. I'm sorry, a lot of us don't have value for ourselves. And that is what we have to rediscover and give respect to humanity. Thank you.
For the opportunity of inviting invite me to say one or two things. I also want to even acknowledge my Honorable Commissioner. I became Permanent Secretary during his time, and I've also been enjoying the cooperation of even the current Permanent Secretary, who has been facing a lot and has been overcoming a lot in planning. I haven't said that to really make Lagos evolve stronger than before. It's a duty for all of us. We need to all come together. Particularly, we owe the society a duty of care as professionals in the built environment. Irrespective of whatever plans we have, implementation is very, very key. And it is on that note that I'm looking forward to the institution coming up with strong position and trying to also unite the relevant professional bodies to really make a case for stronger cities. And my peers mentioned something in the course of our discussion that in the public service there are some people they call champions, that they want to really make sure that government work is done according to the government rules. I think we too as professionals, we can also have champions for making sure that we achieve the implementation of all these policies and programs to be able to achieve a stronger cities, not only in Lagos, but even in Nigeria. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Instead of trying to understand what building stronger cities entails, with Lagos State as the subject. Now we have understood that basically there are many challenges. There are many issues that border around law and order, rules and regulation. There are many other challenges coming from design possibilities. There are issues in understanding exactly what we want and how we want to get there. There are limitations on even professional services that can even come together to discuss how this thing can be put together. And then the biggest one, I think, is funding. How do you get funding for all that has been planned? So I think what we have to do basically, as the Commissioner said, it is beyond this discussion point. There's still more discussion that has to be done. There needs to be openness, there needs to be clarity from one side to the other. But we as built environment professionals need to stretch a hand to the policymakers, advise, bring forward opinions, and maybe alternatives that they can work with. We don't want to be too far, and I hope that basically that there'll be an open door, that when there's something that we can bring to you, you will receive it with open hands. So we thank you. We have, as usual, but I hope after we give this, you will not run away. We also have lunch to serve as well. Let me call on first Mr. Adeniji Adele to help us present this to the Permanent Secretary, Professional Development Service. The theme of today is building stronger cities. So, as we present this to you, I hope you would one day take up membership of the RICS.
On behalf of the RICS, Nigerian chapters, I have represented this book for the valuable contribution to this great association. Thank you.
In the usual way, when you're looking for one alternative to the other, I have called the keywords who I said no. So I'm going to Mr. Joe Aigbe to please come and help us with doing this one. His contribution to the RICS continuing professional service. We present this plaque.
Town planner, thank you for honoring the vision of the RICS and for the opportunity to present this to you. Say thank you. I present the RICS.
And again, I hope you will look for the form and take up membership of the RICS?
Free of charge.
Well, we'll discuss it. Thank you very much. What? So, no need to take your seat.
Okay.
So, we have this plaque to present to you, and I'll call on Dr. Patumalajai to do the honors. There you go. So, in appreciation of honoring our invitation.
Honorable Champion Joy Ainde.
You put honorable there.
is our pioneer chairman of APBN, Association of Professional Bodies of Nigeria, and I was the pioneer secretary to him. In fact, we were there for how many years? So many years.
Just 3 years.
Before we could midwife and get the body right, and up to today, when you do something, one thing, before you know, we will make reference to him. He has been consistent in the professional bodies. So I'm not surprised that he's moving on in this association. I'm sure very soon, town planner in Nigeria will join RICS fully like we are there. RICS is not for excess of wealth alone, because it's also for you, and I'm sure by the time you get to the top, you break your institute here. We really appreciate you today because you have done a great thing. And in appreciation of your contribution to the RICS continuing professional development today, the RICS Nigeria Group now present you this token for your presence, for your time, and in appreciation of what you have done. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And like I said, the invitation has been done for you, and I've discussed how to make the city stronger. I'll say this story about the opening prayer. So I was given the agenda and I saw opening prayer. And I said, well, this is the RICS, and I have the right to say something. So I removed the opening prayer. And since we didn't open with prayer, we're not closing the prayer.
Executive Council and every member of RICS, we wish to say a very big thank you to Town Planner Toyin Ainde, Mrs. Dr. Thomas, and Town Planner Ayodele Adedio for your time.
My brother. How are you, sir?
No problem at all. I enjoy
Where is he? Hey, get in. Everybody.
Are you sure?
I'm coming. Yes. We'll take plates. Can we take use this plate for bread? This smaller one. Don't you?